the Borough of Crafton, December 9th, which at 8:03. Okay.
May I make a comment?
Yes, I was going to, but go ahead. You can.
Just like to welcome everybody out, just like we began 2 years ago. We invite you all back to the community room with a full crowd.
Absolutely. I do want to thank everyone who came out tonight to listen to the presentation and to make your comments. And I want to assure you, because there have been so many people and we have to sign up sheet, I'm going to make sure that everyone who wants to make a comment can make it tonight. We will have to strictly limit the 3-minute limit. We will be timing them. If you can make your points faster than that, greatly appreciated. But I want to make sure that everybody here who wants to have their voice heard is heard after the presentation. So we are going to start with the presentation by the developers of the proposed development. But just before we do that, I want to make sure that everybody understands what we're doing here tonight and why. So basically, this meeting is about whether the Crafton Borough Council will approve an intergovernmental agreement that will revert the piece of property that has been conveyed to us by the school district in 1999 for borough use. It is required for this potential development to move forward for the borough to revert that property back to the school board so it can be made whole into a single parcel for this purpose. And we are here to hear what the community, after we hear what the developers are proposing, we're here to hear what the community thinks strictly about this proposal and whether this proposal is in the best interest of the community. And once we have heard your voices, we will consider a vote. So that's how it's going to proceed, and we will stay here and listen to everybody's comment. So real quick.
3 minutes, is that questions and answers?
No, what you have to understand is that as we just learned, and I relearned at the Local Government Academy last Saturday, that community comment is not question and answers. We are here to listen to what you have to say, and certainly with everybody, we cannot have a back and forth. We need to hear what you have to say. We may address certain questions at the end after everybody has had their say. If there is anything that's very crucial, we may ask the developers for clarification. And if there's anything of a legal nature, that's what Mr. Corbel is here for. So comments, and we are here to listen. Thank you very much, and I greatly appreciate your attention and your attendance. So, gentlemen.
I guess I'll start. My name is Bill Siddig, and I'm counsel for Armstrong Development. And we're here jointly as Armstrong Development.
Can you come up front and use your best outside voice?
We're here I'm strictly representing Armstrong Development, but this is obviously a proposal involving Giant Eagle. Armstrong is the contractor and under development with Giant Eagle to develop this site. It's a common arrangement. I represent both ends. I represent developers generally. I've represented Giant Eagle for a long time, and I've represented the developers. And we're not here tonight to make the ultimate decision. We're here to try to give the community the pros and to deal with the cons as best we can. You have a strong development team, so I'm going to put forth the arguments. There's a piece of property, apparently a decision is made that can be put to a different, higher and better, at least from an economic standpoint. And what I'm here to tell you generally, not representing anybody, but in the world of development, this is, probably the strongest retail game in town now. It's, as you know, you've had people knocking on the door. I've represented Sheets and Speedway and Giant Eagle. These are common ways. These are ways to get development. They become, and I didn't realize this when kids are older now, but when my kids started eating at gas stations, I had no idea what that was. That's where they met friends after games. That's where they met girlfriends, boyfriends. So it's much more, and what we're proposing now is the convenience store restaurant. I worked with Giant Eagle whenever we installed the current Get-Go, and I don't know, and I wouldn't recognize you, I don't think, if you were there, but that was of some contention because we're near residents that are there. But we had somewhat of a similar scenario where we had a franchisee, a store that had value to the community, certainly a value to that franchisee and to that center, and that helped to keep that viable, and that was the model of the day. Small even for the time, a 4 pumps kiosk, obviously it's evolved, and that's part of the whole process of development, and whether you agree with it or not, status quo just doesn't work in terms of value. You're either moving ahead or moving behind. And so this is now the model is 5,000 square feet plus with the pumps that will be behind the building. And it's, their current state-of-the-art model. And so what we tried to do is to show the entire site, which is a little in excess of 5 acres, and trying to show the development potential of the entire site. So it's not just a Get-Go. But anybody who would be standing in my shoes would be disingenuous. Is there any guarantee that any or all of this happens, from force majeure to the vagaries of retail development beyond the Get-Go? I can tell you very strongly, because there's actually a contract with my client, Armstrong Development, to develop this Get-Go, that there's a commitment to do on behalf of Armstrong Development and Giant Eagle the entire site and to get this started. So you have Armstrong Development is, a leading developer with strong commercial retail tenants, and Giant Eagle speaks for itself in terms of its presence in the region. I think you can talk to folks. I trust that they've been a good neighbor generally in this community. I haven't had any problems in communities going out and representing that they've been a good corporate citizen. They're responsive, and they adapt to the comments and needs of the immediate community. One of the things that we're very, very aware of, obviously, is the ball field here. Near and dear to my hearts, and spent lots of time with my son on the ball field, and we have a commitment, this is a long development process. This is step one. You have to get site control. But one of the issues that's even at play, I know there have been proposals before. We have a couple of adjacent residences, and Armstrong would like to, we're just talking about this site tonight, but ideally we'd like to have more frontage on Steuben. So we actually want this as a stepping off point to talk about that, and that would be a discussion not only with the landowners but with the borough, obviously, as to the merits of that. We think there's merits to this being, I know you've seen plans with it, and we would intend to pursue that strongly in order to make that work. We think it does a couple of things. State routes, all this has to be approved via HOP. All of this will have to work from a traffic standpoint, but with the additional property allows to do things that makes it work a little bit better and to get the traffic away from the intersection at Linden, which is always the goal. This market is, while it's as hot as anything, and it's been for years, the convenience store gas station market. It's very competitive, and the grocery market itself is competitive. I also just got finished representing the owner of the Save-A-Lot to have them vacate and get the Planet Fitness in there. So I'm very aware of what's been happening with Giant Eagle, with the Save-A-Lot, with the existing Get-Go, and what would happen. One of the concerns is in the community, right now there's the Get-Go that keeps the folks here, but it is just a kiosk. The business from Giant Eagle is, I guess, one of the threshold questions, many of you may have heard this already, is it's not a net sum. It's not as though you have so much Giant Eagle business. This will be, and our franchisee is in support of this. Our franchisee believes, as did the existing Get-Go, that this Get-Go would even be more beneficial to their business. And right now, what Get-Go will tell you, and we'll give you, more available statistics, but we just got one approved in Murraysville, basically across Old William Penn Highway from their Giant Eagle. Those cars were going further out of town, spending their money out of town. There are, whenever you look at the actual trips, it's surprising. This is not really going to be additive of trips because so many of them, as additive, so many of them are related to the Giant Eagle itself. Obviously, there's going to be some reduction overall in trips because of the elimination of the smaller get-go. So, you know, the idea is with a very strong development team, and one of the challenges in development is everybody, especially the community, especially where you live, there's a comfort level with the status quo. You know, if I'm living anywhere near a ball field, you know, I might have, you know, occasional, you know, summer nights where it's an issue, but obviously this has more challenges from an impacting community standpoint. The question is, do the benefits outweigh this? We believe, and I believe, not just representing this client, this developer, but in terms of the strength of this proposal, period, for what's out there, this is a very, very strong product, strong client, strong development team to do it right. Like I said, there's a long way to go. We have, you know, there's the Ingram Borough line in there, so we have zoning issues. There's a zoning classification I need. The borough will end up with a lot of control over the project. That's one of the things whenever, you know, you buy it, this is not contingent upon getting all of the approvals. And it's not being bought to land bank it because Armstrong Development is here under contract to develop it. They have obligations to do that. But there's a lot of faith being put that we can work through the problems that we need to, you know, the challenges that we need, whether it's a zoning line or the traffic. Because we've looked at it, and Mark Zimmerman is here tonight, and Mark can actually go over the site in a little more detail for you. He's with Morris Knowles, he's the engineer, to just give you an idea of how the site's being laid out and some of the amenities, but I don't know if council has any, you know, just overall development questions. It's not a legal pitch at all. This is just an idea of, this is our concept of how to make the highest and best use of the property to generate the most revenue and business and keep the business that's here within the borough and do it in the best way we can do it on a site that really is appropriate for it. There's a lot of traffic and traffic signal, and it certainly would support this, and I think we've seen that type of interest in the site. So just ask Mark to come up and just give you an idea of the site details, and then we're here and we have representatives both Giant Eagle and Armstrong Development to answer any other questions.
Thank you, Bill. Yes, my name is Mark Zimmerman. I'm the site civil engineer on the property. Maybe a little hard to see in the back, but a strong emphasis was put on this project for pedestrian connectivity, knowing the residential areas in the back and knowing how communities and how the marketplaces function. So what we've done is put a walking path through the outer perimeter of the property with landscape buffers and trees to help buffer the areas from the commercial development to the residential properties, as well as ensure safe passage through the development, knowing that these two projects will combine into one, essentially, on being one piece of property. Traffic-wise, there will be a full access. Right now we're proposing on State Route 60 as well as two on Linden. The one on State Route 60 will have to go through PennDOT approvals. So that is a process that we'll get into once we get to that step, which will hopefully be in the coming future. There's also a right-in just for people to get into the development safely, as opposed to traveling and trying to get out there. That's a method that PennDOT likes to use for developments of this nature. You'll see 3 blue areas. Those will be buyer retention areas. These aren't the deep ponds that you'll see in other places. These will be maybe 2 feet deep, biomedium, and water quality is the purpose there. That's kind of mandated now by DEP and something that you'll probably see more and more in new development throughout the future. There will also be 8 electric vehicle charging stalls. Given sees that as a potential requirement now for their facilities. And there will also be a sign here to Crafton. I think this was mentioned by the borough. This will be the entrance to the borough, so Armstrong Development will work with the borough and coming up with a nice sign there, an entryway, maybe a little shrubbery around it to make that a nice viable option. The area back here, there will be a multi-purpose use area, playground, dog park, that can be worked out as the development goes along, as well as a little hardscape area for pedestrians who use these commercial development, or just go over and sit with benches, and it'll be a nice little, I would say, landscaped area, if you want to go read a book, or maybe ice cream shops in here. Those tenants still aren't determined yet, but in between here, to help facilitate that pedestrian connectivity, there will be a shared patio with hopefully some seating out there in the summer nights, something that can really produce a community feel for you. With that being said, that'll be the end of my presentation, so if there are any questions or whatever the next step is, feel free to move on.
Is there anyone else who, hold on a minute, anybody else who has anything to say from this presentation? No? Okay. Anybody on council who has specific questions?
I don't know if I heard them specifically discuss the light pollution topic that's come up over the past 18, 20 months here. I believe you're going to use best practices for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. That would be, once we get into the development and submit plans to the borough, we will be addressing lighting and those types of issues, shielding and things like that. Yes, best practices will be used for all of that.
Best way to go about this. No, I'm thinking that maybe we just start and move through. Alice, do you have?
Since he asked for questions, I just wondered if someone could clarify in layman's terms exactly what we're looking at today.
Thank you.
Just the site plan and components?
Walk us through what we're looking at relative to what we know today.
All right. So,
What orientation is that, streetwise?
Oh, yeah.
House is right here. Can they lay those pictures out on pages of the
I'm going to pass these around.
But I mean, can they do that?
Can they do?
Like when they're done with their presentation, they just lay all those out on the pages and then walk and walk out. I see that.
I will ask them to do that. Okay, let's get some order here. We're going to pass a few of these around. You can ask any question you want through your arms. We'll see if they want to respond. Okay? All right, can we get order? Order, please.
okay, just, we're at the corner of Steuben and Linden, Walgreens, our neighbors here, residential houses next to us, right there in this white
So what
area.
happens to them?
What we're planning on, we
Okay,
don't,
wait, please. Let him make his presentation, or we're going to be totally out of order, and we will be here all night.
as I mentioned to council, this is all we're here for. We're showing with the land that we're hoping to get under control. We're also hoping, and, you know, nobody has to sell it, we don't have the power to take it. We're hoping to talk to each of these three landowners, you know, to potentially purchase and
So basically, what you're saying is where, if I were to come in here,
Yes.
so you can see it a little bit better here. We have three residents that
Yes.
come in front of here. This is where our current mini golf
yes.
area is, and then somewhere about here is where the athletic fields
Little
come
further,
in.
yeah, the ball field is here, this is the outfield of the ball
Right,
field.
so
Backstones there.
the piece that we are talking about tonight is the front, it's 24% of the entire piece, and it is this piece that the borough has been conveyed to us for the use that we have now, and that we either have to vote up or down on this intergovernmental agreement in order to have this move forward to the next step. Okay? We good with that?
So,
All right.
the very basic components are, at the corner is the convenience store. It's a little over 5,000 square feet, we'll have 30-seat restaurant. Then there are the pumps behind. Then there's the driveway, and it's being shown now as two approximately 5,000 square feet freestanding out parcels. And that's obviously subject to, one of the challenges with retail, many challenges these days, is you don't do it for spec. If you get somebody under contract, you have to deliver it by a certain time. So it's a lot of being able to deliver. We're not anywhere near being able to say we can actually give you an occupancy permit now. We don't even control the site.
Could we please ask for quiet in the room so for those of us who are interested in hearing, we can hear? Thank you.
So those are the basic components. It's the convenience store, gas pumps. Then there are two retail/restaurant, freestanding buildings, roughly the same size as the get-go. Parking areas in between. And then as Mark said, some of this ends up being a little misleading, like these blue areas are not standing water. They're to absorb the storm water. So they'll be looking at it, there'll be green areas. So there's a lot of green space at the corner, and the idea is to have the trails border the property, more rain garden, green space there, so that the actual commercial activity is toward Linden and toward Steuben, with the corner, as Mark said, it's the gateway to the community sign in a green space and landscape. So it's not a parking lot, that you're, the gateway to the township, you have an opportunity to have an attractive monument sign there for it. So that's basically, it's pretty straightforward, where you have a lot of green space, relatively, in this setting with this property, relatively little percentage, lesser percentage of impervious surface than you normally see, and not overdeveloped for the site. Again, with the idea that you have a lot of green space and you're trying to blend as much as you can into the community.
So one of the biggest concerns that we have been hearing, and that I think our board has expressed, is how do we replace the current athletic fields? And is there any interest, willingness, commitment on Armstrong or Giant Eagle's part to help us with that?
Yeah, I can speak to that. My name is Mark McCall. I'm with Echo Retail, and I'm the real estate broker for Giant Eagle on this deal. And when we were here presenting in the executive session for council in the past, Giant Eagle did say that they would commit to contributing toward the relocation of the ball field. No amounts.
Nothing specific.
Nothing specific was discussed. They did commit to contributing toward that effort.
Okay.
What
All right.
dollar amount?
No, they,
There was no amount discussed.
not, okay. So at this point, I think the best thing to do is to just go around row by row. Anybody that wants to speak can speak, and I am going to ask that everybody hold boos, applause, yes, just let people speak. We will take down any pertinent questions that are being asked.
Also, when you come up to speak, whatever, in front of the camera, A, make sure to speak loudly so the camera picks you up, and B, I need first and last name, spell it if it's complicated, and your address. Thank you.
And I do need to emphasize that our policies are Crafton residents and business owners, taxpayers, so business owners who have businesses in Crafton. Comments are limited to those people. If there are anybody in the audience who does not fit that bill, I'm going to ask you to pass. Thank you very much, and we'll start with you. So,
Where do I go?
okay, and Brad, could somebody be timekeeper, because I left my phone in the other room.
All right.
Okay.
Now,
You can stay right there. There's so many folks.
We can
Just
rotate.
stay there and use your outside voice.
Camera?
There's no microphone.
Look, the camera is right here,
Oh, okay.
all right?
My name's Greg Wozniak. I live up on Bar Avenue, 1773 Bar Avenue. Last name's Wozniak.
Perfect, thank you.
And I'm against any council member that would vote for this agreement. In my view, if you lose green space, you never get it back again. And our borough is growing as far as bringing younger people in. Younger people want a place for their children to play and have some sort of recreation area. So I'm not going to take up a lot of time. I just want you to know that I would be against any one of you voting in favor of this agreement.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Crystal Beam, and I reside at 57 Belvedere Street in Crafton. I'm going to read to you what I kind of come up with today. Since the district took ownership of the athletic field and the mini golf,
Can you maybe turn her? So,
Yeah. I'd be happy to come up here if that's okay.
please do, and use your best outside voice, Crystal.
Okay, I've got it. You want the camera? I don't want to put it back.
That's all right, we'll take
Okay,
it back.
since the district took ownership of the athletic field and of course the mini golf field, which they hope to convey to the school districts for the purpose of the sale, would you say that the school district made available to our community the best possible use of the parcels that are considered for sale and new development? In other words, have you ever considered improved development versus new development? With a small investment, there could be some improvements that would certainly benefit our residents and visitors alike. If you haven't done so, please consider developing and presenting a plan that might include around-the-clock availability with posted rules, maybe a snack and a drink center on the grounds, a running and walking track around the perimeter, or a combined football, lacrosse, soccer, volleyball field that could be used by some newly formed club teams. Well, Crafton Elite Soccer has a nice ring to it, and it might spark a lot of interest among our youth. This is just one example that might get you thinking beyond your current way of looking at selling our property. With improvements to the ground for a multi-purpose recreational area that is more green than concrete, our residents would likely get out more and form new relationships with their neighbors, especially the new ones. That is what I call community. Commercializing this property might seem a good option in the short term, but will be just what it is in the long term. A distraction, a reason to keep people away. We need to bring people together, not divide them. You do that through community events and open spaces. We have 3 gas stations within 1 mile, if we haven't noticed. Do we really need one that's bigger and will monopolize the others? Please consider a community-friendly space that will yield the best opportunities to our youth and our elderly during every season of the year. You owe it to Crafton to do your due diligence and present the community with alternatives that are well thought out and taken seriously. With a good marketing and advertising plan, the district could realize increased revenues that they never knew were possible until now. Please, don't just look at the numbers. Do what is right and what makes the most sense for Crafton. You're here because of our vote. And I'm asking you to please consider everyone's comments today and proceed in the best interest of our unique community. We don't have to be like everyone else, and there are likely options that can ease the debt that the school district might be experiencing in ways that have not yet been explored. Give options that will generate interest and revenue, not controversy. Like my own wallet, I would consider every option to improve and repair my own assets before I would weigh in on something new. Please consider what we own. Consider making what we own better. Keep the
Thank you,
land.
Crystal.
Am I done?
Yes, you are.
Sorry.
Thank you very much. Next.
All right, I hate to go after Crystal because I'm not prepared at all, but my concerns are,
Name.
oh, I'm sorry.
Name and address.
It's Catherine Alexa, 20 Elmwood Street. My concerns with the development of the property are loss of green space, the bright lights, the congestion that Get-Go would bring. Along with that, it could also bring crime, because what kind of crime does this community like ours see? Maybe a robbery at a gas station, that's about it. Alcohol sales, it's right across from the pool. Kids walk to and from the pool, the park, and now you may have people stopping at Get-Go to, spend their last $3 on a 6-pack or whatever that may cost. I'm not a beer drinker. Crafton was voted one of the best places to raise kids, and I feel like a Get-Go is not gonna help us keep that, that tag. What's up?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next. Anybody at the second table, far right? Now,
Let's do the front row.
the front row.
Hi, Richard Gatens. I'm a 52-year resident, 60 South Grandview Avenue. I can see it now, a monument sign, "Welcome to Crafton Borough, fill up with gas." Okay? I can't think of a worse way to introduce people to our borough than losing our green space, losing a community asset that was part of the Crafton School District, and the whole reason Carlynton even has it, and having it right there across from our park. I mean, we don't have an athletic field in this town. We don't have one that works at all. Meyer Middleton's owned by CIT. We have a rundown ball field and a half overgrown softball field. If anything, we need to acquire this land and make it Crafton's green space, right in the heart of Crafton. Putting up more gas pumps, adding liquor sales, whatever, is not exactly what we need to do. And I guarantee you there's not a single home buyer in southwestern Pennsylvania that's gonna say, "Hey, listen, let's buy that house in Crafton. They just put up a new get-go." Okay? We really have to consider that. Crafton is doing well real estate-wise. We have to consider that. I don't think anyone wants to see that, let alone all the homeowners that are, I realize some of the back are Ingram Borough, and I'm sure they're not here and they don't even get a voice in this. Okay, but it's not the kind of thing you want next door. And it's definitely not anything I want in my town.
Thank you very much. Next.
Hi, thank you. My name is Sharon Gatens, 60 South Grandview Avenue. I too am a 52-year resident of Crafton. My husband Rich, also a 52-year resident, we've chosen to raise our children, all four of them here in this wonderful neighborhood. I've been an active member of the Crafton community, serving in many roles. I began my Crafton pool career of over 25 years in 1981 of age 14, and I continue to work there in a capacity. Additionally, I've served on the Crafton Rec Board and current member of the Crafton Crocodile Swim Team Executive Board. In my youth, I joined the Crafton Crocodile Swim Team, a 50-year strong organization, which was the root of lifelong friendships with many Crafton families. I am wholeheartedly requesting improved recreation space as well. I'm respectfully sharing my passion for keeping the green space area of the Crafton Athletic Field and Miniature Golf Course today to reinforce my commitment to the community, which has been and always will be our lifelong residents. Crafton is an incredible place to grow up and a gem of a neighborhood to raise our four children, who you may have guessed are also employees of Crafton Pool. When I am talking to friends, whether they're Crafton residents or not, I beam with pride of sharing stories of how Craftonians span their friendships across generations. With a wide range of socioeconomic groups in our community, no matter the occasion, a Craftonian will be there to roll up their sleeves and help with an organization to the task at hand. Comments from yesterday's Crafton House tour of our wonderful small-town community being such a fabulous neighborhood reverberated through the walls of the homes. Crafton gives a warm and welcoming feeling to those who visit and those who raise their families. And to add, the tree-lined streets are the best welcome sign you can have. We're a community where directions are given by the names of the homeowners and not the street. We're a community where our children can safely ride their bicycles or walk to Crafton Pool and Park and make memories which last a lifetime. We're a community of proud residents who support each other and want the best, not just for our immediate future, but for generations to come. We're a community where green space of the athletic field and miniature golf course can provide recreation, exercise, and entertainment for our families and a healthy way to meet friends. We're a community where our children can walk to meet friends at Crafton Park in the summer for movies in the park, or in the winter, where everyone gathers at the site of the first snowflake to go sled riding down the hill on Back Bend Road, all within yards of the green space being discussed today. I paint this picture because it is accurate of what our Crafton community truly is. We're a place where weddings happen because of the bonds formed through our community activities and recreational spots. We're a safe and charming place. No matter where a career may need to take you, you will still call Crafton your home. We cannot forget what builds and supports the foundation of a community. We need to think in the long term. Crafton is a place where families love. An active library, shopping, parks, a beautiful pool, small businesses, a stage where our senior citizens and children come together in an audience to dance and sing on warm summer nights. People are not going to move to Crafton because we have a larger get-go. They're going to move to Crafton for the idea of Crafton, for what we truly have. and what we can offer to the children and citizens of all ages for years to come.
Thank you, Mrs. Gaten.
Thank you.
My name's Elvira Hobb, I live on 48 Lincoln Avenue, and I'm just concerned about safety. I just keep thinking, oh my God, that Crafton Park is where the kids go to swim, where they go to play, where we have our concerts or films, that big 4th of July event, and you're gonna create this massive extra traffic jam and all this extra traffic in an area where kids are gonna be crossing the street, where I walk, where lots of people walk. I mean, I just think it's, on top of everything else that everybody said that I totally agree with, I think it's a big safety issue, and you're risking hitting kids and people, and you're gonna ruin my home, and I don't believe it.
Thank you.
Okay, my name's Leslie Tarlow. I live at 96 South Linwood. I'm not prepared. I just found out about this yesterday. We've lived here for 10 years, and my husband and I both grew up in the city. I love Crafton, and I don't have children. I have a stepdaughter. In any event, I want to piggyback off what Crystal was talking about. I had no idea what those fields were for. Now, guess what? I will be there. I will try to save these fields. There are people in this community, if they knew this was going on, they would rise up and organize something, donate money. I mean, we can get activities going, a walking trail. I would love it. I haven't been this fired up since I was like 20 years old. It really, why I see the gentleman's point about this is the way things are nowadays. I'm so tired of it. I'm tired of it. My stepdaughter got a cell phone. It ruined the child that she was. You just accept the way things are, and Crafton, we need to stand up and say, that's great, other communities can do it. Let's stand up and say, we're not going to do what everybody else is doing and let these big companies come in and ruin what little things are left of the old ways. What we're all yearning for, that nobody wants to admit. We want things to go back. And the technology, Amazon, I love Amazon. But we do have enough gas stations. What about the other businesses? Like Subway and the Chan-An, and I mean, those little businesses are gonna go out that have been here for years because now everybody's gonna go to the gas station. It's not right, and I'm getting upset. So anyway, if you guys can figure out something else to do with that parcel of land, I will be there. I have neighbors. I wish that more people knew that this was going on. I feel like it's kind of a secret, and that disturbs me as well. Thank you.
Sorry, I just didn't catch your address. Please repeat it.
96 South Linwood. We have a lot of decorations if you want to drive by.
Next, thank you. Next. Anybody else in that row? Yeah, none of you? Okay, you're all okay?
Hi, David Lasondak, 10 Baldwick Road, 25-year Crafton. I also spent 4 years as vice president of the Swickley Chamber of Commerce and was, if you'll forgive the pun, part and parcel of many business development ideas, particularly along the Ohio River Boulevard Route 51 corridor, of which paramount importance was changes in traffic, which was just kind of glossed over in the presentation of well PennDOT. They're very important because what I see here is 2 ingresses and 1 egress in a major intersection across from a park where our children play and we have many community events. And we've already seen, for those of us who go to Carnegie, what having the get-go there has done to just getting through that intersection. Can you imagine people coming out wanting to go left instead of right? I think it's a problem that hasn't even been addressed. We've heard a lot of developers speak, no vision. You know, as the other person said, and I'll just repeat it, you don't move to a town because they have a fantastic new gas station. You don't. Now, I'm all for the school district finding ways to increase their revenue. That's important. But are they getting the best value they could from this parcel of land? I'm not sure. I'm not a real estate developer, but moreover, they should be focusing on developing that area if there wishes to do so in a way that enhances the community, that make more families want to move here to go to their school. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa.
Okay. My name is Lisa Smith. I live at 50 Walnut Street. I've been Crafton resident now for 18 years. I love it here. I'm going to touch a little bit on what everybody said because it's all feeling the same way. But what I don't think you understand is this has been going on for a long time, and I don't know why you don't all know it. And yeah, the borough's going to say, hey, if you don't like what's going on, maybe we won't give the school our little bit of land. But no matter what, the school's going to do something with that property. What I'm here to say is I don't think a get-go is the best idea for it. If they're going to sell the property and they're going to do something, houses might be a nice idea. You could probably fit 10 houses over there, then you'd have more people, you'd have more revenue, but a get-go is not it. Because again, the traffic is going to be insane. At nighttime, all those lights, all those people that are living on Maxwell, the people on Steuben, the people off at Duncan, there's going to be lights all over the place. It doesn't look like they're going to have big rig gas stations so that you'll have the truck traffic in that I was afraid of, but you're going to have all kinds of traffic, and you're going to have beer sales and all that with our kids right over there in the park. The school board owns that property, and to say that our board, do something about it, there's nothing they can do about it except for say, we're not going to give you our little parcel of land so you can put this big get-go in. I want everybody to understand it. It's the school board that needs to sell the property because they don't have enough money. So they're looking to do this, but that's a quick fix. Selling it to a get-go is a quick fix. You need to get something in there that's going to generate revenue over and over, or you've given up your green space, and then you have that money, you get 2 years out of it, maybe 3, and then you're back to the same thing where the school district has no money. Okay, and that's what the big ordeal is here. It's not just that they're going to put a get-go in and get rid of our green space. It's bigger than all that, and I urge you guys to go to school board meetings and help the school board come up with better ideas and whatnot. Otherwise, this is the kind of thing that we're going to end up with in our nice little community that the kids are safe to walk around in. They're not going to be anymore.
Thank you. Next.
Reese Smith, 50 Walnut Street. So, I know you guys do not own the athletic field itself, but as you're selling your parcel, you're enabling the school district to help sell the athletic field also. But the athletic field is a much better use of the property for the community. I've seen the sports teams that practice on it and play games on it, and they might not necessarily be associated with the school itself. They're associated with the community, and that's important to the community. Because those sports teams practicing and playing games there are what causes people to move into a town, not a gas station. Furthermore, the golf course that you guys do own on it is still sometimes used various weekends, and it's a benefit to the community. People go out there and people play golf on it. And furthermore, you're taking away a spot of recreation and replacing it with a spot with loitering. That's actually what's going to happen. Kids are just going to loiter there. Sure, they might purchase something, which is going to go into sales tax to boost revenue, but most of the time it's just going to be sitting around there because it's sitting around there or sitting around somewhere else. That's it.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, AJ Stewart, 75 Bradford Avenue, 32-year resident, so a couple things. First of all, I applaud the opportunity to increase the tax base. I really recognize that and do appreciate the need to do that. I also appreciate the design and get-go, and you made it sound attractive with what you were going to do with green space and so forth. But I just can't see hanging out there. I can't see me taking kids there. When my nieces and nephews come, that's not community space to me. My concerns are, in addition to what all of you have said about traffic, keep in mind, this is a 2-lane road, and anything that's going to happen to widen the road is going to take more land away, and it's already congested. Number 2, another concern I have is what happens to the existing get-go. I have traveled Route 30 for years, a 4-lane highway, and when they close one store to open a bigger one of the same, you get blight and deteriorated property, which is not something that we need, particularly on that end of the shopping center, so that's a concern that I have. And I also think that there are many more other opportunities that could be explored to echo and pick up on what Crystal said. Where is a vision for a bigger place? We need something that's more of a walkable community. We need something that's designed for the whole community. We need more Serafinos. We need more places to attract young people to come here and raise their family and have a walkable community. We We need more friendly terms for small businesses so that we don't lose them. We need fighting to keep Black's Bridge not closing and having such turnover in the limited retail space that we have. So I'd rather see a bigger vision, maybe even something as crazy as doing something with a section of the park where people could have a whole retail complex there and do something that is a bigger vision, not a gas station to move us forward. So I'm all in favor of raising tax base, but I'm doing it in ways that fit with the vision of the community and why we're here. Thank you.
Next.
Tom Kennedy, 45 McMahon Avenue. I basically agree with everything that's been said tonight. One fact that hasn't been mentioned is that our concerts in the park oftentimes will use that area for overflow parking, and we use that. I think that's something else to consider.
Thank you. Next. Okay.
Karen Joyce, 36 Home Avenue, Pittsburgh, PA. Been a resident for 37 years. I agree with everything that everyone said, but I think the Carlynton School District is asking Crafton to pay too high a price to give our land up. I mean, we're comprised of Carnegie and Rawson, not just Crafton, and this is Crafton's problem. But they're not showing on the site plan that it's right across the street from a park. I mean, you can't pull out of the park now with the traffic. So I think it's safety issues for the park, the concerts, the pool. I just don't think it's feasible.
I'm sorry, number on your address? I got Home Avenue, but
36.
Thank you.
All right, next. Anybody else at that table?
Joe Valentine, I live at 170 West Steuben Street. So we are the closest people to this. We're a little white square over there. And, you know, I came with my wife and my daughter, and I was worried that we were going to have to fight this fight alone. I'm so happy that we have so many people here, that some people I don't know, some people I know very well. And I'm just so happy that so many people showed up. And I hope that the Borough Council takes that into consideration as well. This is a pretty big issue. And doing the right thing here, it's a big deal. It's a lot of money. But sometimes, you know, doing the right thing hurts a little bit. But in the long run, I think it would be beneficial to the community. My front door is right there, and I feel like that's Crafton's front door. And we want to put a gas station right in Crafton's front door. And it's what everyone said. But that's what we would be doing. And I hope you take that into consideration. And I hope you take into consideration everybody that's here and how heartfelt everyone's been.
Thank you. Next.
Michelle Dalbeck, his wife, and we live right there. So, and our driveway is right there, and there's the entrance there. And I mean, how many times you have driven by me as I'm coming out of my driveway and let me out because you feel bad because I sit there forever. Can you imagine how long I'll sit to get out left in my driveway? I mean, it's just, and when we bought the house 23 years ago, we bought it because we liked watching them play in the field, and we still do. And when they wake us up for football at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday with the band and everything going, it's still a good feeling. It's still a nice noise. I love hearing the kids out there. We love seeing soccer and baseball and football. You know, not that. I don't want to look at that in my backyard. You know, I mean, everybody here has the same opinion. We're a little closer to it, you know, and I mean, and I appreciate the beautiful design. None of you would like this in your backyard, you know, none of you that are showing us the signs. You know, you didn't buy your house going, oh my God, I heard you put a gas station back here. You know, you bought the house because you like your neighbor back there, you like the park, you like the view you had. Everybody buys their house, they look at the backyard, and all those home shows that you see on TV. No one buys their home because there's a gas station in the backyard. They buy it because they like the look, they like what they're seeing, they like where their kids are going to be. You know, so I mean, I appreciate everyone coming out. It's we agree, we all are on the same page for everything, and like I said, we're a little closer to home. Leah's next to us, and Pat's next to us, and that's where our backyard would be. And I just don't want to see that for the next 23 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Anybody?
I'll go.
All right.
Tom Canavy, 80 Woodlawn,
Could you please spell your last name?
Kanavy.
V-E-Y?
Kanavy.
V-Y, thank you.
Big time taxpayer. My bottom line is, I'm against giving away Crafton assets to benefit Carlynton. Come on, Crafton is Crafton, it's not Carlynton. Okay, so do not give away Crafton assets to benefit Carlynton. Second is, Mr. Gatens, smart guy, said, why don't you think big? Why don't we buy the rest of the property and develop a nice big athletic green space that you put both parks together? This is what communities up in the North Hills are doing. It's just, it's crazy to give something away to benefit something that is not us. We are Crafton, we are not Carlynton. Don't give away our assets. Tom Canavy, big time taxpayer.
House number, please, sorry.
80.
Thank you.
All right.
Egg 83.
Anybody else in the back? Anybody else that wants to make a comment? Anthony.
Anthony Saba, 568 Broadhead. So the one question I had for council, for developers, as well as Carlynton. So let's say if council decides not, let's say the scenario, if council decides not to move forward with this intergovernmental agreement, what does that look like? What's going to happen? Is that property still going to be developed on? What can Crafton do, so to say, to stop? Because what we're hearing is, you know, it's going to, if it sells and the school district's going to do what they're going to do, so if we're going to get something there, what does that look like? And if we're not going to get something there, how does that interplay? Because I think that's one piece that we're not discussing is, what does that look like if council doesn't approve it, but they still move forward? So are we going to get a partial project, or what's that going to look like?
Thank you, Anthony. Matt?
I'm just going to answer your question, Anthony. It's zoned R2. Nothing can be built there other than residential homes unless the planning commission would change it over to an overlay or to commercial district, which they could do because it is adjacent to another commercial district. But that again would come to Crafton's, that would be at Crafton's hands, nobody else's. So they couldn't just sell the project, sell the property, and then someone go and build a gas station. It can't happen unless Crafton approves it. So.
And I would like to hear that from council, so that way it's on public record.
It is what it is. It's planning.
Yeah.
I mean, you go on the zoning map, it's R2.
Well, we'll get to, hold on. We have asked for, we will answer significant questions at the end. I want to make sure that every resident that's here that wants to make a comment has the opportunity to make it.
Kristen Shuley, I live on North Emily. We want to say full address because this is on the internet.
Okay.
Anyway, so based on what was just said here, my question for council would be a point of clarification. It sounds like in order for a development to be placed on that property, whether Carlynton sells it or Crafton sells, you know, their portion, it sounds like the zoning would have to be amended, or there'd have to be a variance, because it sounds like it's a residential, and this would need to be rezoned to be commercial. Sorry,
Yes.
thank you guys.
Yes, thank you. I still have a few more.
Sandy Kane, 24 Warren Street, CAIE. One concern I haven't really heard brought up too much is I grew up in front of Crafton, 4 across the street from Walgreens. And we moved here in 1962, so I have the When we were selling my dad's house, we tried to get him to sell before Walgreens came in. When it came in, the property dropped $75,000. I'm really concerned about the houses that are going to be left around it. Their property, they're going to drop, because that is proof. We lost $75,000 on this house because of that. And I think about across the street from, if you go across Thornburg Bridge, when I was growing up, those were all residential homes. They're now all these little tiny businesses, and I don't think that resolves everything. And so I'm just concerned to keep it a green space, and I agree with buying it as craft. We should buy it.
All right, is there anybody else who has not made a comment, please?
Beth Ann Carlini, Carlini. Live on Union Avenue. And I agree with everybody, and I think you should buy it.
Thank you, thank you. Anybody else?
One small point, might I add real quick?
Wait, all right, I will take your redirect and yours, and then we will answer the two significant questions in the back and move on. Go ahead.
I would just like to say that by selling the property, under the limit, then lowering the property prices of community members, that's essentially selling the property and then stealing value from homeowners.
Thank you. Crystal?
I have, yes, thank you. The title that I'm looking at here, the deed, I have to say that it was ran back in 2012 by my husband. And the copy that I had years ago was given away during the Save Our School, if anybody remembers that. And the copy that I had was handwritten, it wasn't all this
The ones
typewritten
that are
stuff.
handwritten are the ones that go back even further.
And they're in the dungeon.
Well, no, those are the 1875. These are the ones that are pertinent to the agreement.
Okay.
And that is a separate issue. That is a separate issue, and we need to table that and not make that an issue.
Okay, but then aside from that, there is a historical marker along Steuben Street for Hands Hospital. So that is a historic, you know, I mean, there's a lot of historic significance to that piece of property, and I'm concerned about it.
Okay. Solicitor, can you speak to the questions about the zoning?
Right, it is correct that the property is currently zoned R2, and in order for a gas station or some development that is proposed, that the developer would either have to obtain a use variance, or council they could request an amendment to the zoning ordinance, and council could consider that.
So basically what you're saying is it is not currently zoned to allow for this type of development?
That's correct.
Okay, and Crystal, I'll give you a little history lesson from the Historical Society days, and I believe it was the Heinz historian. That marker is not the actual location, and it's a mystery. It is a mystery about where it is, but it's there because it's in the vicinity somewhere. It wasn't that done.
Thank you.
Okay?
So could we clarify what the steps will be then? Just tonight, first you guys will vote on whether or not we entered into an intergovernmental agreement. If that's, is there a flow chart to this? If that's yes, then this happens. If that's no, then this happens. We don't know that. Is there some sort of a...
Right, okay, so that's a good question. And Mr. Corbel, do you want to give a general idea, and then we will see, we'll take it up.
There's a lot of steps.
Before you do that, I do want to thank everyone for coming out. I want to thank everybody for maintaining order, and I want to thank everyone for listening to your neighbors. And we really, really appreciate this input. So if you could do...
Could I just add that, thank you from our standpoint. I'm out of a lot of communities, Mr. Corbel is too.
I know, I was going to say, this is
very...
most well-behaved.
Nobody threw anything.
It shouldn't be so unusual, being civil to your neighbors, to people come into your community. We're coming in here respectfully. Very rarely do we get respect back. Very much appreciated. Speaks very highly of your community and how you feel about it, and just thank you.
Mr. Corbel.
I agree with Mr. Siddick. It's sort of cart before the horse, but if council were to approve the Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement, then we would have to declare the frontage not necessary for municipal use. We would file a new deed, record a new deed downtown, and then the property would be under the control of the school district, and they would proceed under their sale agreement with the developer. There'd be due diligence, etc. At the same time, they would have to make a land development application to the borough, which would proceed through the planning commission to council. They would need to ask the Borough Council for a variance or for rezoning or seek a use variance from the zoning here. There are a lot of moving parts to this. And today, what council is considering today is just the start. So I hope that's really 32,000 feet. So.
One more question.
Will there be other meetings where people that didn't know about this or can
That's gonna depend on what
Called
happens
school board
next.
meetings.
Yes, yeah, that is gonna depend on what happens next.
If council votes no, then presumably there will be no other meetings on this topic in the near future, if at all. If council votes yes to approve the agreement, there will be multitudes of meetings before this body, before the planning commission, before the zoning hearing board.
And also the court.
You guys have a
And there
general
will be
idea
a-
how you vote?
Pardon?
There will be
You guys have a general idea how you're gonna vote?
We do not know that at this point. This is why you are here.
You can't have to ask, right?
Right. You're gonna learn, we're all gonna learn what happens next. Alice, you have one?
When is the vote?
That is what is up right now, is to determine whether we have a motion to vote. If we have a motion to vote and a second, we will have discussion amongst ourselves, and we will take a vote.
Thank you.
Okay? Mr. Sabo?
So this property on the front that's being discussed right now, if it goes back to Carlynton, are there funds being exchanged to Crafton Borough, or is the property going back to Carlynton and Carlynton?
We will get, right now, the discussion is that that piece represents, as I said earlier, 24% of the entire parcel, and what is under discussion is that we would get 24% of the sale price. Okay? One last one over here.
If you vote to do this, you're getting ripped off. You're only getting 24%, but you hold all the cards, and you only got commitments to help develop other athletic fields. You're getting ripped off.
Thank you for your
Crafton is getting ripped off.
Thank you for your comments. All right.
Can I just say
What,
something?
let's see if we have a motion first, and then we can have a discussion.
It's related to questions that are coming up in the audience. Just, let's see.
Let's see if we have a motion first, okay? And then we will have plenty of time.
Can we motion to vote?
So do I have a motion to accept the intergovernmental cooperative agreement as written and advertised?
Are we motioning to accept or motion to vote?
We are,
I think that
To
she's
approve.
calling.
Well, I thought it was, wait, it's ready.
well, no, I'm not
Motion to-
calling.
Oh, you're not
saying no.
Okay.
So can I offer a motion to vote on the approval of the intergovernmental cooperation agreement?
You may offer it. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, now we have all the discussion. Mr. Amendola, would you like to start, please?
I think that Mr. Anthony in the back, I don't think his question was quite answered. I think his question to Mr. Corbel was, if this body votes no, what could or what will the school board do?
I don't know what they will do, but at this point, based on the zoning, the only thing they could do is develop it for a residential development, unless, of course, they seek rezoning from council or seek a variance through the zoning hearing.
So basically, what you're saying is they could, conceivably, we do not know what their intention would be, they could sell the piece that they own.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
arguably they could. So there were comments in the audience about if the borough doesn't give its frontage back to the school district, that they'll build a gas station anyway. And I think that's, although technically it could happen, there are so many hurdles to jump through. It's not just going to happen overnight.
Okay, does that answer your question?
is there
Mr.
any-
Amendola? Hold on. Does that answer your question?
Well, isn't there an eminent domain situation that the school board could pull us into?
You mean, the school board has rights under the current deed where they could say they need it for school purposes and they could take it back,
School purposes.
They could take it back.
School purposes.
right? Right. Yeah,
And is
well,
that,
but how long, the question is, how long does a school purpose have to exist before they could?
So, okay, so let me bring something to the table. And at the school board meeting, ahead of their acceptance of the proposal, they declared their portion of the property unnecessary for school board functions. And so they passed that motion. Does that influence things at all? I know we're putting you on the spot, Mr. Carl, I'm sorry.
I'll be honest with you, I really don't feel comfortable providing that
That's
advice in
fine,
a public.
and that's very good, that's fine. Then we have our answer at this point, that it's too complex to answer at this point. So I'll have to take later. No, that's fine, that's
We
fine.
have a right to know law in Pennsylvania, we can get that.
You cannot, it's
You
privileged
can't?
information.
Oh.
I'm the lawyer.
Okay. All right, you win.
Confidential, I'm sorry.
All right, so we will respect that. We have respected everything tonight. We will respect our legal counsel. So, Mr. Falchuk, you had a comment?
I was just, he basically answered, what are the conditions by which the school district could take possession of that 24% of the property, and I think you've answered that. The only answer is, they could take possession of that property for school district purposes.
Yes.
Okay. And there's nothing the craft teacher do to undo that.
I feel like I'm at the impeachment hearing.
All right. Does anyone else on this board have any other questions or comments?
I have lots of things to say.
Super. Let's start with Mr. Lavasser.
All right, this is going to be a while. I have more than 3 minutes.
You are not limited by 3 minutes.
I'm just saying.
All right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 6 months ago, I was sitting in Ms. Perry's chair, and since then I am a member has been added to my household. Her name is Catherine Rose, and as I sit here as her father and the son, as a father of a son as well, and as somebody that's very invested in this community, I want to let you know this process has been going on for nearly 2 years. 2 years ago, Mr. David O'Brien brought to my attention that school board president Jim Shriver would like to speak with me as I became council president. The school board president illuminated to me the issues that have been ongoing with the Carlynton School District. And as a taxpayer of the Carlynton School District, I can't ignore what's going on with the millage and with the economics of the district. And initially I was very, I'll say angry and vehemently opposed to what's been discussed. But Jim and Joe Apple brought to my attention the real issues that are faced before us. And the reality is the school district 9-0 has voted for this, of which 5 members of that board are Crafton residents. And this has been ongoing for now pretty much 20 months, 9-0 on the subject. So you have to pay attention to that other elected board and what's going on there. And I believe any of us that have been paying attention to our tax bill and paying attention to the school board meetings, as one of our members of the community was in attendance, said, you know, we are faced with some tough choices. And there was a comment made in the audience this evening about Crafton getting ripped off, and I felt very much the same. And the conversation's been going on quite a while, and I have changed my opinion on the situation because the reality is we have to work together as a community. And I was of the opinion, well, why should Crafton bear the burden? Why doesn't Roslyn or Carnegie do their fair share? And the reality is they are doing their fair share. They are if it's Roslyn Farms with their, how small they are, but with their abundance of a wonderful real estate, they have been making their contribution, as well as Crafton. I mean, we have been making contribution. Carnegie, with regards to economic development, has been pulling a lot of weight. And I don't want this to be taken lightly. So I'm going to read an email that I wrote September 12, 2018 to Solicitor Corbel and Mr. Rosario, if I may.
Wait,
What is it? I don't know what it says.
It's
It's privileged.
It talks about
He's the
representing party.
Now, I understand that, but I have to advise him of such, Mr. Gatens.
it talks about the email I sent about about potential drawbacks.
Do you want to review it?
No, I remember.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So as recently as yesterday, again, this is September 12, 2018. As recently as yesterday, I spoke with School Board President Jim Shriver to reiterate our position and inform him of our council's concern with ECHO's proposed plans and how they're not conforming with our municipality setbacks and district's desire to preserve as much of their property in the proposed plan to profit from the borough's acreage. Note that I said my position has changed on the subject, but you have to understand there has been quite a bit of evolution with what's proposed. According to our first exploratory meeting with ECHO and the district, ECHO was to revise their plans to mitigate the following for the community: air pollution, noise pollution, light pollution, traffic congestion, stormwater management pollution. These issues can be managed via setbacks, establishing vegetative buffers in the landscape plan, building design, and facility layout. The land issue is something we cannot overcome with regards to the district's position of full developing the frontage and preserving the back field. The facility needs to use more of the acreage to effectively manage all the aforementioned issues. It would be an insult to Alcosan and Crafton ratepayers if we just installed new stormwater management features immediately across the street at Crafton Park at the tune of nearly $200,000, and as we, the municipality, allowed a developer to build a standard fare fuel station with minimal stormwater features in a system we know needs to be managed responsibly because we operate a combined system. What are the economics? What's the revised architecture look like? What's the new layout look like? We were told that by 9/18, at the next exploratory meeting with ECHO, would have more details and something that was more tailored to the feedback that they received from the exploratory meeting. Additionally, as we discussed in our executive session, the past meeting regarding the particular real estate matter, I did as council requested. Tell Jim Shriver that council would like to have an executive session with governing bodies present to discuss the matter. The second exploratory meeting was more fruitful than the first meeting. As much as we would like to help the district, we are not in a position to leave the borough's residents shortchanged and left with development that doesn't enhance the community. Is a get-go really the highest and best value beyond our borough's current use as a green space and recreation area for the residents? These are the issues that must be deliberated to ensure the public is left whole, and we steward these resources to afford for long-term benefit and not simply short-term financial gain. Steve, if you have any guidance on this subject for council, please do not hesitate to share with Abby and I so we can help our community make responsible decisions for our constituents. I read this because it's important to understand this plan that the district brought forth has evolved quite a bit, and both boards made compromises. Crafton Council does not own the lion's share of the property. However, we do own probably the most valuable piece with regards to the frontage and what it means for economic development. My position has changed as such that the reality is, a lot of us have said, well, we don't want to lean into the shopping center. But the reality is, our forefathers and mothers made a decision to develop the valley, and we need to really consider, the full economic development. It's about quantity versus quality, and I believe that we need to invest in quality. We have a lot of space, and we've had a lot of half-finished plans, and we as a community need to move forward with investing in quality to ensure that our children and our neighbors alike have safe places to recreate. And I believe at this point, with what's currently proposed, that either if it's this developer or the other developer that came forth, you're pretty much going to have a high-grade development because of the value that's placed there. There's obviously a lot of things that we as council would have liked to have seen, but there are limitations, and a lot of it is dictated by the school board and what they're able to do with their property. And the reality is, we didn't agree jointly to market the property and put a for sale sign on front. The district said they wanted to do it this way, and that's the truth. But your council, whether it be Ms. Perry or myself or any of the other members, sat up here to give you guys the outcomes that are most beneficial with the cards that were dealt to us. The reality is, as has been said, we do have the upper hand, and we will have the last say in what ultimately gets developed there, if anything, because we do control the zoning. PennDOT does control the highway occupancy permit, which is extremely important and will be debilitating if they do not get what they need there. So I will say what's been proposed before you this evening is the product of lots of back and forth, and it was not taken lightly. And we all need to understand that the school district does have the issues before them, and we're all trying to be good team members here. So thank you.
All right, as long as we've started this way, Ms. Davis, do you have any remarks that you'd like to make, any questions and comments? Mr. Kraus.
Yeah, I do. So I'm going to piggyback on some of the issues Phil brought up and bring my own perspectives to this. So I would say in this particular case, as a community, there's so much to unpack here. So the school board, this is not my first thing I wanted to do on council. I didn't run as an elected official to build a get-go in town, so I'm just going to be really straight. This is no disrespect to you guys. But we do have a fiduciary responsibility in the borough, and I have to steward the taxes that are coming in and the taxes that are going out. So having said that, Carlynton, with all due respect to the Carlynton School District, has put us in an untenable position. Because I view this as, to the gentleman that said, we're selling our green space, we're getting ripped off, I agree with you 100%. 100%. And I've told everybody on this board that in private phone calls and in executive sessions. I think we're getting ripped off by the school board, and it's a real unfortunate bind that we are in, because they didn't go into this wanting to sell a community asset, but they have to because they're going to do what they need to do on their side of the ledger as well. So, it's not an easy place that we are in. We are truly in a rock and a hard place. So as far as this goes, I mean, we are trying to guide this process inside of the comprehensive plan. And I'm a proponent of taking what we have, which is a shopping center, which in my mind, I mean, if I was king for a day, there's no way I'd put a shopping center down there. We would have a nice Main Street, but we don't have that. We have a shopping center, and that is what we have, and it's not going away anytime soon. So my perspective is we can lean into that, where the people are and where the people are already at, where the people are already loitering, where there's already beer stores, where there's already bars, or we could not lean into that and have something that is always in flux. I hear a constant ring from the community that we need to do more with the shopping center. I see this as a way to drive more people to the shopping center. That if there are more boots on the ground there buying things, that might enable the folks who own that shopping center to maybe decide that they want to take on some additional capital investments. Maybe they want to sell it. Maybe they see the writing is on the wall and they want to make a change down there. I don't know that, but it's something I have thought of. And to the points with the parking and the PennDOT highway, the turning lanes and all that, I mean, I agree with all of those things. So, I'm gonna take that out of the equation for just a second and just say, the school board came to us and said, we want to sell this property. And we have done the lion's share of trying to wrestle control from the school board to get a building that looks like that, because the original blueprint that they wanted to put here was not that. It was worse than that. If you think you hate that, you would have hated what they proposed to us 18 months ago. And we fought tooth and nail to get that up there to be the best it can be. And it still is in flux. It can still be better than that. It can still have more development. We want restaurants in town. We want somewhere to go in town to eat. Where are we going to put those things? We don't have a main street. We have a shopping center. So from my point of view, this is the next best thing we can do, is help to redevelop this particular area. So my question is, if we don't get to weigh in on this process now, and this comes down the pipe in another council, and, will we have the same amount of control? We don't know. This is a golden opportunity now that when we have the most control over it, plus we're going to have control through zoning, plus we're going to have control through, what else am I missing? Land development. This is if we're going to have a development down there, this is probably the best thing we could possibly have. And to the last point, to the folks in the back that mentioned that we should buy this, or why don't we have a bigger vision for it? That's not in our wheelhouse because we don't own it. We can't develop the athletic fields and put houses there because we don't physically own the property. Carlynton School Board owns it. So the front part can be a mini golf course, or it can be something for municipal use. If it's not for municipal use, where does it go? It goes back to the school board. So I agree with everything you've said, which is do something better, build houses, redevelop it in a bigger picture, but we don't have the luxury of doing that because it's not our property. If you guys want to see that happen, talk to the school board because they have the ability to make that happen. And then lastly, if we could buy that, I would be in favor of it, but unfortunately I think it's out of our price range currently speaking. So,
And it would consume, what's our debt ceiling, Ms. Susko?
Slightly under 10 million.
Right.
That property is $3.5 million right now rated, correct?
That's what the offer is.
Right. That's the offer.
Which is 1/3 of what our total debt ability it would be.
This is not what's at,
But
this is
the
not
qu-
what is on our,
But the
Not
question
our
was,
agenda
why
tonight.
don't we just buy it?
well, I think it's a really good question, and I don't think it's one
Oh,
that
well,
we
we're
can
providing an
answer.
answer.
I don't think we can provide an answer in 20 minutes at this meeting.
Okay.
So if it's something
Ms.
that
Perry, I'd like
we
to call
should,
for the vote, please.
I'd like to comment.
well,
Can we have a comment?
hold on. Mr. Amendola has called for the vote. What is the next step?
Call the question?
You have to have a second.
Yeah, there is a second.
No. Is there,
No, he doesn't have to have a second.
pardon me? Okay, he does or does not?
Does not.
You don't have to do it though, right?
Yeah, it's up to the chair.
Okay, I am in favor of letting each one of our members have their say before we take a vote. All right, and to the point of the communities asking those questions of us, they are not questions that we can answer off the cuff any more than we could answer this question of this development or reverting the process in 15 or 20 minutes. I do think that it has merit, and we all have to think about that as we take our vote tonight. So I'm going to pass it to Ms. Glasser to see if she has any comments, and then on down, and then we will take a roll call vote.
My comment is, we have this room full of people that have come here with their concerns. We have not had many people here that are saying, oh, this is what we want. As a council member, I feel that we have to go exactly what our citizens want at this particular point. We are talking about a 24% of the property that is sitting there. And I feel that this is what we must look at right now, and this is what we want to be voting
Thank you. Mr. Belcheck, do you have anything more to say?
Sure, I always have something to add. I went and met with the former Crafton superintendent a million years ago who we called the Swamp. That's now the shopping center itself. There's been a lot of change, there's been a lot of growth. I don't think the plan that's being presented is a bad plan. I think it's been failed to be packaged properly for the community to digest. I think that this is a forum where it's kind of unleashed to you is probably not enough information to make a good sound judgment of it, and that's a failure on a lot of fronts. We have a 4-point comprehensive plan in this borough, developed with Ingram. Those 4 points are deterioration of property, economic development, connectivity, walkability, and communications. This plan was developed in line with those 4 points. Unfortunately, there's 2 other pieces that we are responsible for in addition to what the community has created in the comprehensive plan. Those 2 things are safety and infrastructure. And the 2 things that this has raised a lot of concern around is the safety and the development of infrastructure to support such a development. So those are the things that I think could be packaged better. Maybe down the road this could be brought back. In my opinion, I will not be here. Tonight is the last time that I will be on this board. So I think with those 4 points, the plan was put together with a good intent. The 2 pieces that are missing, really specifically around the concerns for safety, I think are paramount to really cause this to not be able, in my mind, to move forward at this point. The 3 things that I think that should be addressed in anything that comes back to this board, which I will not be on, it's the location of the ball field, whether it's the newly acquired Duncan property in the valley, whether it's something in the park, wherever that might be. The Carlynton Cougar football program has been 50 years, I don't know how long, I wasn't here, part of this community. So that needs to be addressed full-fronted directly in the plan and the presentation beyond what the developers are coming to. That needs to be addressed between the 2 governmental cooperating entities. The other piece is whether or not the installation of a mini golf into a feature facility is there. That's a wonderful way to protect that if such a facility were to go through. But again, it was not addressed. And the last piece is a demonstrated understanding of the traffic impact. It's not something we can gloss over. Those are the things that I feel were really paramount, that needed to be presented in making this palatable to the community, and we just don't have enough information to really get behind it, in my opinion.
Mr. Amendola.
I just want to get to the vote. I've heard the people speak, and I'm ready to vote.
Okay. I would like to make a few comments myself before we vote on this. I'm hearing my fellow council members talking about this being the best after 18 months of work. What I am hearing loud and clear, I have been a resident here for 25 years. I have been coming to council meetings and I have never seen so many of you turn out. And what I want to say is that there have been some very constructive things. What I am hearing is we're not interested in relocating. We are interested in what this is going to look like and how this property is going to be developed. I hear, why don't we buy it? And I'm thinking, why not? I don't know if that's possible, and I don't think that that's something we can answer. But what I am hearing, and I will back up with what Mr. Balchev says, is there's not enough information, and I'm hearing this community does not want to be cowered into making this decision this quickly. And we have talked for many, many months, and something that we have talked about before there are other ways to consider what goes on this property without denying the school board's interest in selling it and the potential revenue. That involves a number of different processes, and we're going to take a vote. And I urge my council, my fellow council members to consider very, very carefully the community members and what they have said, and understand that this, this isn't the last stand. We aren't obligated to say yes tonight. And even if we say no tonight, that does not mean that it's the end of the discussion. We have heard from this community how they value this property and the sorts of things that they might consider. And it's my considered opinion that our community is saying, do not revert this property. That is what I am hearing personally, and that my vote is going to reflect that. So at this point, I will cede to Mr. Amendola, and we will take a roll call vote on this. So,
Mr. Kraus?
No.
Ms. Danitz?
No.
Ms. Glasser?
No.
Mr. Lavasser?
No.
Mr. Valchef?
No.
Mr. Amendola?
No.
Ms. Perry?
no.
And that's 0-7.
Before we convene, I do want to thank everyone, and I want to assure the school board that we are open to further discussion, but it has to be in a different way, it has to be in a different method than what has transpired over the last 24 months. I believe that we can meet the school board's needs and the community needs if we have more participation like this and more deliberation. Thank you all tonight.